United stand. Breaking news is that Sir Jim Ratcliffe will bid for Manchester United when the Glazers officially put the club on the market. Telesport can reveal. This is coming from James Ducker of The Telegraph. And it's the news that we've all been awaiting, that Sir Jim will bid for his boyhood club. He's a billionaire, he's got wealth. Has he got enough wealth to run Manchester United the way a lot of the fans want to be run and to compete with the big guns such as Manchester City, Newcastle, who have got extortionate wealth from their owners overseas? Sir Jim Ratcliffe is British, he is a billionaire, but has he got enough? He will run the club responsibly, but do we have enough money to do it the way that we want to do it? We're going to get into discussions with Charlie, with you guys. Get your comments down below. We have Sir Jim Ratcliffe, who seems to be the more responsible owner. We can say The Telegraph says he does. From people close to Sir Jim, he says he does put business over personal ambitions, so the business will be run like a business. Do we need someone with more money? Get in the chat down below, who would you prefer? Someone like Sir Jim, British billionaire, boyhood club, or would you prefer someone over maybe from the Middle East that can compete with the likes of Manchester City and Newcastle for extortionate wealth? But get your comments in down below, and we're going to be discussing it with Charlie and discuss any more news that will come in. Charlie, first thoughts on this. Sir Jim, he obviously owns Nice. Yeah. He's a billionaire and he wants to buy the club. Yeah. But with Chelsea, he put in a late bid because he wanted the price to drop. Does money concern you? And we're talking about billions here, but still, does the lack of ridiculous amount of billions concern you? For me, it's no surprise that he actually has put a bid in. I mean, when this whole thing with Sir Jim Ratcliffe came about, I believe it was either a month or two ago, initially, about, you know, he said that I'd put a bid in if they were willing to sell. Nothing happened at that time. So if he now wasn't willing to do that, he's obviously kind of going back on his word. So it's no surprise that this has kind of come about, but ultimately it's brilliant that it has. In terms of how much wealth, I mean, look, we're obviously he's got enough wealth to deal with, you know, Manchester United. Otherwise he wouldn't be kind of in the conversation. But a lot of people, and this is going to divide opinion, right? I've seen a lot of people in the chat kind of keen towards whether it is the Dubai or a Saudi fund or something like that. A lot of people are keen on the Jim Ratcliffe stuff, so it is something that's going to divide opinion. And ultimately, I think the main and key aspect for me is that the Glazers are shortly praying no longer going to be the owners of Manchester United. Yeah, with all the news coming out, it's one of them where people are thinking, are they looking for investment? Are they looking to sell the club? I personally think they're going to sell the club. I think the fact that up for sale has even been put into the equation, I think they are going to sell the club. And I think a lot of people, because we're so desperate to get the Glazers out and so desperate to have different owners in the football club and have better owners, and I definitely think Sir Jim would be a better owner than the Glazers. I think it's not hard to do that job. But when we're looking at new owners, you do have to look at it with loads of different kind of aspects coming into play. And personally for me, I would like someone from potentially the Middle East, from potentially, from the Middle East, someone that can bring ridiculous amounts of money to Manchester United and be able to kind of compete with the likes of Manchester City and the likes of Newcastle, which is where football is going. Like, that is where football is going. I think Sir Jim would be a great owner, a practical owner. We wouldn't really know until he came into the club, but it's one of them where people think from the ethics reasons that maybe you should better to go with a figure like Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and also somebody that he's going to be responsible. There'll probably be lesser wages. Money will be shorter in some areas, but he does have the wealth. I mean, he's got $13.5 billion is his net worth. Yeah. It's going to cost at least $6 billion to buy Manchester United. You're going to have to build a new stadium. You've got refurbing Carrington, completely kind of making a new, adjusting the facilities at Manchester United. It's going to cost a lot of money, and I think to get to the likes of to compete with the likes of Manchester City and Newcastle, where they're going to be at, would people in the chat prefer someone from maybe the Middle East, or it doesn't have to be the Middle East, but just someone with ridiculous amounts of money? And where do you stand on that? Do you like the idea of someone who it is his boyhood club, buying the club, someone that's going to run the club quite responsibly? Yeah, I mean, there's definitely that appeal, you know, that he, as you say, that is his boyhood club, and having that kind of relationship there already, that is definitely appealing. And The only thing I worry about is that, you know, as you say, the amount of money obviously it's going to cost to buy Manchester United, and then the refurbishments in terms of stadium and training facilities as well, that's going to cost, because this is what the fans are going to expect, right? The fans are going to expect whoever it is that buys Manchester United to do exactly what the fans have been calling out for a long, long time. So, yeah, that's the only thing I worry about, and I'm not saying he's not going to do it. That's kind of in broad terms to whoever does then kind of take over, you know, Manchester United. But also, I do understand why it is appealing that people would like a much more rich owner in terms of that Dubai, Saudi money that people like to say, because people have seen it with City, people are now seeing it with Newcastle, and it is just a lot more appealing because you have more money, and you then have more money to do, you know, throw at transfers and throw at stadiums, etc.
Yeah, I think it's one of them where I think the way that the world's going, and Mark actually put it on Twitter that he would actually prefer someone with a lot of wealth, because he thinks that's the way football is going. Responsibility is great, but we want someone that can compete with the best of the best. But a lot of people are saying they also want Sir Jim because of what he will bring to the club, and he's been a name that's been coming around the club a lot. But Darren Mulaney's just put a super chat in saying, I want Jim Ratcliffe. If the Glazers are selling, it doesn't mean that we won't have. Does it mean we won't have funds in January? I highly doubt if the Glazers are selling up that we will spend a lot of money in January. But that's a question. That's a great question that can be asked. And a lot of people in the chat saying we want oil, and I think it's because they've seen the likes of Sheikh Mansour go to City, and they've seen what that has done to the club and the way it's been transformed. But as we said, Middle Eastern billionaires, they're probably going to have the most amount of money that they can pump into Manchester United. But we also need someone that is going to be able to run the club well, someone that's got a footballing head on them, someone that knows football. But also with Sir Jim, Charlie, he's got the likes of Nice, he's got other investment funds. Does that kind of cripple the amount he can put into Manchester United?
I hope not, because realistically, and no disrespect to Nice, but Nice and Manchester United in terms of running a club and, you know, spending, etc., is night and day. So I hope that he obviously will have that experience through, you know, running Nice, that there can be some correlation and relation that can move over to Manchester United. But yeah, it's going to be night and day. Hopefully it doesn't. I mean, maybe, I don't know if you would, but maybe there's the thought of selling Nice after the purchase of Manchester United, maybe in order to maybe, you know, generate some more funds for possible endeavours in Manchester United. I'm not sure.
Well, yeah, on that actually, there's been reports that he hasn't really run Nice in the best way that a lot of the fans would want. And get your comments in down below on that as well. So would it be a risk to kind of go for someone? We all just want the Glazers out so badly that anyone coming around saying they're going to buy it, we are going to jump at that straight away. But reports that he's not running Nice to the highest standards, that worries me, because Manchester United, one of the biggest clubs in the world. I think what we realistically need, personally, my opinion, is we need somebody with extortionate amount of wealth, and I mean like 20s and 30s of billions, more than that even, like someone that can put a ridiculous amount of money into the football club, but also someone that cares about the football club, someone that's going to hire people to come into the football club to invest in Manchester, the city centre, the way Sheikh Mansour did with Manchester City and the Etihad. Someone that is going to put people in charge that know football and direct the right appointments. And I'm not saying Sir Jim wouldn't do that. I'm saying he would. Clearly, he knows football. He was at the 1999 final. He's a Ports United, so I assume he would want the best for the club. But we have got this quote here saying that he does seem to put business over anything. So business would be priority, and that does, in my head, alarm bells go off like the Glazers. You know, when they're in for the money. And I'm not saying he would do it the same way, but
I think there's pros and cons either way you look at it, in terms of if it was Sir Jim to purchase Manchester United, or it was to be Saudi, Dubai type, you know, money. I think there's pros and cons to both. Obviously, I mean, look, in terms of he seems to run a business, you know, run it like a business, etc. That can, you know, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be exactly like the Glazers were running it, right?
Because everyone who has a business will run it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and football clubs are a business at the end of the day, but, and you even relate it to kind of a wage, maybe there's even a thing of a wage structure is being brought in, that type of thing. You don't see kind because that's one thing that Manchester United have never struggled with. It's always we haggle over the fee, never the contract, if that makes sense. We're always willing to give them 250, 300 grand a week. Maybe there's something with Sir Jim Ratcliffe that we bring in a wage structure and save a little bit more money that way, or there's loads of different aspects which I'm sure he's kind of looked at and planned for.
Yeah, and I definitely think a lot of people are just going to want the never-ending funds. I'm one of them people, I will say it outright, I do. Like the richer the better, in my opinion. Obviously, someone that's going to care about the football club as well and put the football club first. But I just think the way that City are run is something that we would eventually want. But again, it doesn't have to be Middle Eastern. There's been talks from American investors as well, and obviously Elon Musk is the first person that people look to. He hasn't expressed any interest at all, but he's just bought Twitter, so I doubt that this would be a venture he would want to go into. But he's a guy of extreme wealth, extreme billions, that can definitely afford to put some billions into Manchester United. Imagine Marcus Rashford, United shirt on, sponsored by Twitter. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously he put that tweet out a couple of months ago, didn't he? Almost like a prank situation, and a lot of people were keen on that because, yeah, a lot of people think the more money that the new owner has, the better, because a lot of people, as you say, we will... And this is one thing I don't want to happen, is whoever the new owners that come in are going to be, say they don't spend 200 million in their first summer or something, or, they don't spend ridiculous amounts of money, that now the fans, I think the fans will always want so much. And I just don't want them to then, get bogged down because they've seen Glazers spend 250 million in their last window or whatever, 200 million, that we don't kind of get conflicted that way. But look, either way, I think it's the right direction, that we're moving in. Yeah,
and Mark Dobby, member for 24 months, says the club is self-sufficient. Someone just needs to buy the club and it would run itself. We would need loans to build, but it would be paid off. I know, but I don't really want to be getting loans in and have that thing where we automatically the owners come in and maybe struggling to do the stuff they need to do, which is redo the stadium and stuff like that. I completely understand the amount of money that Manchester United makes is incredible, and the transfer window could makes the money itself, doesn't it, really? And the Glazers have taken money out, so we need someone who just won't take that money out that we are putting in. But still, to have the wealth there is I think it is becoming important, and it's sad that it is going that way, I admit, but it is, and we need to keep up with what is happening. And Jerry Chard says most people hate the idea of an elite Super League, and yet this is exactly what the Premiership is becoming. I don't like the fact that this is the way it's going, and some of the smaller clubs won't have the same amount of power that we will. But at the end of the day, Manchester United has ridiculous power anyway because of how big it is. The amount of money that we produce is a lot more than a lot of the other clubs. And I think if we want to be at the top, we want to have kind of the best chance of doing that. And you look at the owners around us, there's the way it's starting to go, unfortunately. But again, people would say, unfortunately, obviously massive question marks over Newcastle's owners and the human rights stuff and stuff like that. But Manchester City's owners, the financial fair play is obviously a thing that a lot of people, there's so many things on it that companies, just random companies that have been made up to kind of avoid, kind of put money away and stuff like that. But the way that they've actually invested into Manchester and invested into the club has been brilliant, I have to say. But
yeah, no, and that's, again, it's one thing that you'd be looking for from the owner. And yeah, again, pros and cons to either way you look at it, in the sense of whether Sir Jim does take over or it is that kind of Saudi-backed type ownership. There's, pros and cons to both, I think.
The amount of comments that I've seen coming in saying, oiled up, we need that oil. I think people have seen what it's done to the likes of these clubs and seen how good it can be. And completely being honest with you right now, if someone said to Sir Jim, and his, obviously it's crazy, 13 billion.
Yeah, it's a crazy amount of money.
Or someone from the Middle East, or even anywhere, to be honest with you, that has billions upon billions, but even trillions, some of these people have. Do you know what I mean? Would I rather that for the safety net if they're going to run the club well? Personally, yes. I'm not going to lie.
It is also the unknown, isn't it, at the minute? You don't quite know what you're going to get with either of them, and if we don't get, or the fans don't get what they want out of one, they're always going to go, I wish it was the other one. There's always going to be
there's going to be things there, but obviously we've waited 17 years to get the Glazers out. This owner needs to be the one, it needs to be someone brilliant. But we actually have just got a poll gone live, already got over 1,200 votes in that, and it's what type of owner do you want? We've got options of Sir Jim Ratcliffe, the USA, I don't doubt anyone's going to vote for that, Saudi or other, and get your votes in down below as well. New stadium, Old Trafford. But yeah, I personally on that one would be voting for Saudi, I'm not going to lie. What would you be voting?
I have just voted for Sir Jim Ratcliffe, to be fair. I do think there is some almost that relatability and more like love factor in the fact that it is his boyhood club. And you know, I do think as much as, you know, he's come out and people say he'll run it more like a business, etc., which people have fear over, because I even saw a few comments saying that it would be Glazers 2.0, which I disagree with. But yeah, it's just that almost.
Oh, this is a good point.
Thing you can relate to. Go on.
Yeah, Tom says Sir Jim might only be worth 13 billion, but in ASOS, which is the company obviously he owns, is worth over 50 billion. So honestly, if Sir Jim Ratcliffe has enough money to make Manchester United great again, I would be all for that. Someone that actually does does know the club and does support the club. I think he would want to put the best interests at heart, and he would 100% be better than the Glazers. Do not get me wrong on this. And people in the chat saying Saudi and Dubai are different. I think our producer doing the chat thought kind of they're in the same bracket, so Saudi or Dubai would be that category. And at the moment, honestly, it's 50-50, and Sir Jim Ratcliffe has got 43%. Saudi / Dubai has got 46%. With USA with 2%, that's Joel and Afram Glazer. That 2% that come in there. So
Two votes.
It's Jim will bring people with him. I don't really want a cohort kind of ownership really, but we'll see what happens with it. And we've got Tom Grant coming in. Any idea when the Glazers will put us on the market? I think the rumours were summer that they were going to put us on the market, which means maybe a dry January. Not only just for the alcohol, but a dry January, and the fact that the signings might not come in, because realistically, if you're selling a club, are you putting money into it that you don't need to in January?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, because I mean, I saw some people, there was rumours it would happen before Christmas, which I don't think would happen, just because of everything, how complex, you know, selling / buying a club will be. I've seen Mark compare it to, you know, when you sell or buy a new house, like you don't just look at a house and then within a week you're moved in. Like that's not how it kind of works. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how kind of quick things do move along and how efficient this process can be, because that's one thing also, you don't want this to be a long drawn out process.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't want it to be a long drawn out process. We want to get this done. We want the Glazers out as soon as possible, but as long as it's the start of them going, I think we've been patient for 17 years. We can be patient for a few more months until they eventually go. But other sources have told Telegraph Sport, however, that the owners have been actively exploring the potential sale of Manchester United since the summer. United's share price has increased for a second day on Wednesday, and is anticipated that some of the parties who bid for Chelsea could come to the table. I mean, Manchester United coming on the market, it is a once or twice in a lifetime kind of thing. It's very rarely that this sort of thing is going to happen. I mean, 17 years the Glazers have been in charge. People that want to make money, and I'm not just saying that should be the whole reason why they want to buy it, but this club is only going upwards in valuation if new owners come in. I feel like we've gone through the point where we've had a complete down, but I do feel like we're on the rise here. We've got the biggest fan base in the world. Well, I think it is the biggest fan base in the world. We've got probably make the most money in the world as a football club. It's a very, very attractive proposition for somebody who can afford to do it. Do you feel like there's going to be a lot of parties coming to the table on this?
I wouldn't be surprised, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's the reason why this has kind of come out, in the sense that Sir Jim wants to make it known that he is interested and will be bidding, because you know you bid because you know other people are bidding as well. So I wouldn't be shocked if there are other people interested. Whether it comes to light who these people are, what consortiums or you know kind of things actually does happen. It'll be interesting to see, but I'm sure there will be, you know, whether it's behind closed doors or it does come to light, I'm sure there will be a fair few different people interested.
Yes, and we have over 4,000 votes in the poll, 4,300 nearly, and people have voted, and I think Sir Jim Ratcliffe is just
45%, yeah.
got it with 45%, with 44% for Saudis and Dubai. So there is people that have that really want kind of someone in here that is, you know, knows the club, isn't kind of one of these elitist Super League type owners, you know, the elitist of the elite. I mean, his wealth is still great, and they want someone in that's going to run the club responsibly like he would do. I would definitely think you would see a better age structure come in. I definitely think you would see the club ran in a more logical way, 100%. He knows what it's like to run a football club already as well, which is important, I think. But for me personally, I'd probably just want to push that out a little bit more. But yeah, no consortium, please. Too many cooks. Sir Jim is too old, 70.
I mean, I did say, didn't I, that it will divide opinion as to what people want. And that poll that's just ended literally summarises it. It was pretty much 50-50 in the sense of some people want the Saudi or Dubai kind of backing, or some people want Sir Jim. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see, as I say, how it kind of unfolds.
Yeah, it will be interesting. But before I let you get off, Charlie, one last one. We've done the poll and Sir Jim won by 1%. Sir Jim or a Middle Eastern owner with extreme wealth?
Is that you asking me what I'd want?
What
so yeah, I mean, if I had to right now make a decision, it would be Sir Jim, because we know he's interested. There's obviously pros, as I say, to the Saudi Dubai kind of situation, because they will have a ridiculous amount of money in well, I mean, let's be real. Sir Jim has a ridiculous amount of money as well, but you know, even in comparison to that, the money that's going to come from Dubai and Saudi, you look at Newcastle, aren't the owners worth more than every other owner combined, or something like that? You know, we're talking silly figures here. So yeah, right now I'm not going to sit on the fence. I'm more leaning towards Sir Jim Ratcliffe.
Yeah, I think Mark's just put in Dubai Investment Group all the way, and someone's just put in, imagine being so desperate and so deprived that you want a Saudi owner. No, honestly, I'm not going to lie, money does talk a lot of the time. As long as it's someone that is got good ethics about them and that it can run the club properly, then I would be down for that. I would 100% take Sir Jim over the Glazers, but if I had to make a decision, I would go with someone with the extreme wealth to run the club. But we'll have to wait and see who else comes in. Elon Musk maybe might come in for it. I doubt he will, but he'd be another one that you'd be looking to potentially get in. He doesn't know anything about football though, but the thing is with these people, they can employ people that do.
If they're smart,
if they're smart and they can do it. But someone that cares about the football club, there's a lot to be said for that. But money, there's a lot to be said for that as well. Make sure you get in the comments down below what you think and who you think should be the next owner of Manchester United, or where you think they should come from, or what group you think it should be. Charlie said Sir Jim. I'm going to go with a Dubai investor to bring the money into Manchester United. But you get your comments in down below as well. We do have Belgium at Canada coming up with Mark on That's Football, so make sure you tune into that. Make sure you hit a like, make sure you subscribe, and we will see you on the next one.